Space Coconut.
Okay, Minthara Ruthless Soul is a 2/2 legendary elf cleric that costs 2 white black. It has Ward X, where X is the number of experience counters you have. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you controlled left the battlefield this turn, you get an experience counter. Creatures you control get +1/+0 for each experience counter you have. Now, this isn't a crazy ability, and experience counters are something I've always wanted to dabble in, and in Orzhov, Ndaxos the Returned is the only other creature that uses these counters. Since he's pretty cheap, it might be worth adding to the deck just because. As for Minthara herself, adding a counter at the end step only if a permanent left the field is a pretty steep and obnoxious hoop to jump through, but thanks to Proliferate, you can make those counters a little bit faster. Proliferate says choose any number of permanents and/or players, then give each another counter of each kind already there. Grateful Apparition will do this every time they deal combat damage to a player or planeswalker. Twice if you can give it double strike. The Sword of Truth and Justice is really expensive at $30, but it will give a creature +2/+2, protection from white and blue, and when it deals combat damage to a player, you can put a +1/+1 counter on something and then proliferate. Throne of Geth sounds pretty good because you tap and sacrifice an artifact to proliferate, getting another experience counter. And then another experience counter at the end step because a permanent left the battlefield. Make a bunch of artifact creature tokens like servos and thopters and you're golden. Those creatures will also get +X for the experience counters you have, so they become more impactful as the game goes on. Animation Module doesn't say proliferate. Animation Module says whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on a permanent you control, you may pay 1. If you do, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. But the important part is where it says pay 3 and tap it. Choose a counter on target permanent or player. Give that permanent or player another counter of that kind. But it's the cheapest of the pay mana tap to proliferate effects. Most of them are 4 mana like Karn's Bastion, which still might not be a bad idea. Contagion Engine will proliferate twice for 4 mana, so that might be worth the include even though it costs 6 mana itself. SRAM's Expertise will make servos while also casting something from your hand. Hidden Stockpile will make servos if something left the battlefield. Hangerback Walker wouldn't be a bad choice either, since you can proliferate the counters on it anyway to make it massive, and then get that many Thopters when it dies, which all get +X for your experience counters at that point in the game. If you utilize card draw when a creature dies effects and have the budget, Yawgmoth Thran Physician will proliferate if you discard a card and pay 2 black. But rather than being in the 99, you might want Yawgmoth as your commander outright. Ward won't protect you from board wipes, so you'll need to rely on indestructible stuff to protect your board once you have a decent amount of experience counters. Selfless Spirit and Selfless Samurai will be big creatures as well as a means of protecting your creatures and your commander. Outside of Proliferate, again, Aristocrats comes in to let you sacrifice creatures to get the end step trigger. Other than that, Minthara is pretty straightforward, and the rest of the 99 can just be whatever you feel like putting together. More Aristocrats, big wide tokens, decent cheap creatures, maybe with double strike and things like that. Now that I think about it, it'll probably be a really good commander for newer players since it's so straightforward, which is always a good thing. Let me know what you think of Minthara Ruthless Soul in the comments below. I'm interested in hearing what you think. Like the video if you liked the video, dislike it if you disliked it, and until next time, I'm Space Coconut, and you're welcome.